Welcome to my studio. This is where I create. Behind me is my wall of color with all my watercolors, and then I have my paper crafting area with stamps and my Sizzix. Anyways, welcome. To this video I'm sharing how we use Karin Brush Markers. I love them. I've had these for probably 3 or 4 years now, and I don't know what I would do without them. They're just my favorite. They're my go-to on the go because I can take them and just kind of color and have fun. And I've learned what not to do. I almost wasted a whole thing of ink from a marker. That makes me really sad because then I had to replace it. So I know what not to do. So to help you learn, and I'm going to show you kind of my favorite papers. It's just going to be a lot of fun. So if you have Brush Pro Markers, you will get something out of this video. And if you don't have Brush Pro Markers, stick around. You're going to want to know how to use these. It would be a great Mother's Day present or a great present for any artist in your family. So anyways, lots of fun, and let's get started. Alright, first tip is, how do you care for these? How do you use these so you keep your nibs in good shape? First off, the nibs are they're just beautiful. Alright, so these nibs are absolutely phenomenal. I love these nibs. I love the barrel that's on it, or how long the nib is. I love how juicy the nib is always, and the point. And so, for example, I'm going to use some mixed media paper. The nibs are probably the most precious part to the marker. Calligraphers love them, and lots of lettering artists love them because you can get that thick and thin line, and that's one of the wonderful things about these, and it's so fluid. And you can also do you can kind of get a thicker line this way as well when you lay the nib barrel all the way down in your paper. You can get a nice thick line that way, so you can get all the coverage. It's just phenomenal, and they're water soluble, so you can definitely use a water brush. I like to use a water brush. I just have it in my bag of my pens, and it'll just, you can just get some beautiful blends going on. And even if you make a mistake, you can blend it out with water really easily. So it's just these are just wonderful markers. I cannot love them enough. I just love them. When you take the lid off of a marker, of these markers, especially these markers, be very gentle with them. This is not something that I would say, oh, here, toddler, play with them. I would be very careful with the nib, because if you were not as careful and you hit the lid of the nib, you could probably break the nib, the brush part of it. And that's not good. The tip, you don't want to mess with the tip. So I'm very, very careful. The other tip I have about just handling with these is, when you're not using them, put the cap back on. Just don't even, yes, it might take more time, but it keeps the ink, and it keeps the ink activated. You can kind of see the ink in them when you move, and so you can tell, I'll find one that maybe doesn't have as much ink. This one, I love Arctic Blue. This is one of my favorite blues, and it is almost out of ink compared to this one where it has a whole lot of ink. You can see the difference. And that's just because I love this Arctic Blue. It's such a pretty blue. So anyways, but another tip that I have, I look to see how Karin says to store their markers. I didn't actually get a good concrete answer from the manufacturer. A lot of people say to store them vertical, and I would agree 100% with that. However, I also think that horizontal is a good choice too. I store mine in a bag that looks my friend made me this bag, and it's the perfect size for all of my markers. So I had to use this because I use this bag. I use my markers all the time, so I just keep my markers in this lovely bag, and I can travel with it. I can just take it and, like, to wherever in my bag. I nature journal with this, with Karin markers all the time. I plein air paint with with Karin markers. Like, I use this bag. This bag is like on the go all the time, and it's fun. And I just keep it horizontal. If it's in a purse, you'll also notice that all of my pins are facing one way, and that helps me because then I can know, all right, I'm going to face my pins up vertically, and so then I can just drop it in my bag and head out. I don't love to store it tip down, because that is where I ruined my pin. I stored, like, I don't even know what color. It was a color that I thought, oh, I'll just always have it out in my little jar, you know, that I hold my pencils and pins in. And I did that for like almost, I don't know, 6 months. And when I opened it up, all the ink was in the cap and not in the marker. And I probably could have, like, gone through the trouble of getting it replaced, but I thought, oh, lesson to me, don't store your pins with your nib facing down, with your brush facing down. Always store them upright, and that is my best tip for keeping your markers nice and in good shape. Alright, another tip for keeping your markers in the best, keeping them nice and clean and perfect is I don't actually draw with them, I color with them. So if I want to draw with them, I will use a Micron pen that is like a bleed proof pen, and I love it. And I love size number 05 micron pens. They're my favorite, and I can, like, doodle with them. I don't know, whatever. I've been drawing crocuses, so this could be a crocus. I don't know. Anyways, it's fun. I like to draw flowers, right? And so maybe that's crocus, and then I can just doodle. I'll doodle, and then I'll color with them, and almost instantly the Micron pen, like, you don't have to worry about it. And then I can go in with my water brush, and there's a little bit of green, so that's going to show up with the yellow if I don't clean that off. And I can go in and just move the pigment around and then illustrate even more with it. So anyways, I also, if the paper is rough, meaning like if you're using cold press rough watercolor paper, I would be very hesitant to use the marker on the rough paper. Instead, what I would do is I would put some ink on a glass mat or on a palette, something that is like smooth, and then I would take my brush and I would pick up the ink, and I have yellow on my brush, so it's probably going to look a little bit orange, and I would paint that way. I would not necessarily draw on it. So you could draw on paper that is smooth, like the mixed media paper, would be great. Anything that doesn't say cold press, so hot press would work. Anything that's smooth would work. And that brings me to paper. So with paper, this I'm using Canson mixed media. It's a 98 pounds. So you're not gonna, if I spray it with water and do lots of water techniques, it's gonna curl, but just to draw and paint on, it's totally normal. I'm gonna use purple. Like, I can draw whatever I want. If I wanted to do a cute little floral motif, you know, I could definitely do that, and it's not gonna hurt the nib, right? But you want to be careful with them. You don't want to, I would not give them to my kids, my younger kids. My 16-year-old would probably be fine. But I can doodle and draw all I want, and it would look beautiful. I can even, if I wanted, I can even do something else. Like, let's say I wanted to make a really pretty, just a pretty yellowish flower. And I'm not, this is just me warming up, right? I can take that nib and put it right in the middle, and it's not going to hurt my marker. But if I were to try to do that, if I were to try to do this, I might get a little bit of purple on my nib. And so if I do, then I can just erase it off by coloring on the paper. But it doesn't look like I will. That's a pretty aster. And now when it dries, I can go in and just add some ink, some ink to it. Alright, so those are some of my tips for keeping the nib nice and clean. And with paper, I like to use this mixed media 98 pound. This is 9 by 12. I usually rip off the paper and then cut it down to size for my watercolor. But if I like these big ones because I can also do plein air and nature journaling. So I go big and cut smaller. That's kind of a fun way to utilize your paper, I guess. And then I have Strathmore mixed media paper, which is not the same as Canson mixed media paper. This one is actually 184 pounds. So technically it's thicker than 140 pound paper that I like to use, and it is very thick. I like it, it's smooth, it's not rough at all, and I'm actually going to show you how I stamp on it and then use some markers to make a beautiful card. So anyways, the Strathmore mixed media paper is one of my favorites. And again, I buy it big so I can cut it smaller. You just never know when you want a big piece of paper. And I like to be expressive with my lines. So, alright, I got my Color Journey notebook ready to go. I have been working hard on my color journey. So I wanted to swatch the bright colors of Karin Markers right here. These are the brights, and I also have mutes, but I like the brights. I think you get more bang for your buck out of the brights, because I can always mute a red or green, or I can mute colors if they're bright. I can't brighten up muted colors. As I was doing my little swatches, I was reminded of, like, oh my gosh, it was 3 years ago. So we took a trip to Chicago, and we went to Shedd Aquarium and the Field Museum, and we took the boat from the Shedd Aquarium to Navy Pier, and I literally could not get over the color of water. Is it in Lake Michigan? I think Chicago's off of Lake Michigan. Anyways, gorgeous, absolutely stunning. And that water was like the cyan turquoise water. Oh my gosh, I want to go back there and just like paint that water. It is so beautiful. And the sky was just a beautiful cyan and Arctic blue. It just was a beautiful day when we went on the lake and had a blast. So it was a fun memory. I love how colors can bring back memories. So alright, I like to blend colors together, and lately I have been in this like pink and yellow gold mood. So I'm going to take gold, and I'm going to take cerise. Those are going to be very bright together, but I'm going to blend them together, and this is how I like to do that. I like to, so the color wheel has brights and darks. Like I would consider, like if we take these three colors, which would be very indicative of a primary color wheel, the lightest value is yellow, a mid-tone would be the pink, and the darkest value would be blue. So when I want to mix these three together, I'm always going to start with the lightest value and then mix in with the darker value. So if I wanted green, I would start with yellow and then do blue. If I wanted an orange, I would do yellow and then the pink. So I'm always trying very hard to do that. Ink and watercolor are transparent, and so we have to remember that it's transparent, and that's why we always do the lightest value first. Alright, to blend, I'm gonna show you how I like to blend. So, and you can make like some really pretty cards with just this technique, and then it looks very artistic. And then maybe you would put a sentiment like, you color my world, or something cute like that. Anyways, I'll go into the yellow, and then I'm getting that beautiful gradation of orange. I'll do one more. And so that is how I would blend just markers together. Another way is I will just do I would just leave almost a gap in between the two. And then I'm going to take the yellow into the pink, and I'm going to go this way. And if I think I get pink on my brush, I will just wipe it off. And that gives it a nice blend. Gold, magenta red, and red lilac. And the red lilac and magenta red will be kind of combined. So let's start with the gold. I'm going to get a lot of gold on my mat by my watercolor. And let's make this happen. Oh, so pretty. So I just wanted some gold to get into the florals. I feel like gold kind of gives it a nice warmth to it that sometimes we lack having. It's not gonna, you probably won't even notice that there's gold by the time I'm done with it, but I like to start with a little bit of gold. And now I'm gonna let that dry, and I'm going to add this beautiful Arctic blue. I'm going to clean out where my gold was, and I'm just going to get a whole bunch in. I will probably, this is a wet into wet technique. Right now, I'm just getting some pigment onto and I just want to get some pigment onto the cardstock, onto the mixed media paper. And you can even go in. You don't even have to worry about the lines, honestly. Like, just have fun. I love underpaintings because you can kind of just make it happen. And if you like to color in the lines, try this and see how you like it. You might actually really enjoy it. It's very freeing. And actually, sometimes we're so serious with our art that we forget how to play with our art. And I think when we can start playing with our art, we realize the joy that comes from actually creating. What we're doing is actually negative painting, but this is why I love the mixed media paper. See how I can just move that ink all around? You can't do that without watercolor paper or mixed media paper. So make sure your watercolor paper is 140 pound and it's not watercolor cardstock, because watercolor cardstock is not worth using. I like mixed media paper. I can blend, mixed media paper and good watercolor paper will keep the pigment on top of your paper so you can work with it longer, whereas cardstock, it sinks the ink in and you can't move it. You're stuck. And I like to be able to move my ink because I make mistakes. All right, this is looking awesome. I am so excited for this. All right. Let's get some magenta and some of this violet going. I like this. I like these two colors together, actually. I don't know if I'll mix them on the palette, but I'm going to mix them on the paper. Okay. And so this is the magenta. And now I am taking my time. I'm figure skating around where I feel like it needs it. And there is going to be some orange, and I'm okay with that. This is just the first bit of it. I'm also looking to see where I need to add shading while I'm coloring. Sometimes the stamp is deceiving as to what you think is a petal might be a leaf, but that's okay. The person who you're giving the card to will probably not notice, and even if they do, you can be like, yep, it was handmade. And sometimes that's even fun. And I can already tell that I'm going to need some more blue and spots. And that's really pretty. I like this light, the lightness of it. I might just add a little bit of this magenta to where the lines are, just like that. There's so many ways to use Karin brush markers, and I feel like you could play for hours and hours and still learn how to use these brush markers. But that's really pretty. I think I'll leave it like that. And I'll probably do that to the other centers too. And I do like to sometimes wet my paintbrush and then very lightly go in. I'm barely touching the paper. I don't even think I am touching the paper. And it's so pretty. But I use the same color. This is the same color as that. It's just darker. But because I'm using good paper, I can move my pigment around. Okay. We're going to do the same thing to this one. I say if I do it to a couple, then I should do it to some others. So that's going to be a darker spot, so I'm going to do that, and then up here I feel like could be a bit darker. And we'll do a little bit darker right here. That's probably enough. You'll see that I hold my lid while I'm painting, and that's just a habit. It's not a bad habit. I would rather the ink, the nib, be protected in a cap. That's so pretty. Oh my goodness sakes. And we'll do that again. Really don't need hardly any pink. And this is magenta, but it's looking very red. But as I move the paint around, once I put it on, I can see the pink. It's quite a lovely color. Oops. Just a little bit right there. And I'm going to zoom in just a little bit so you can really see. Alright, one more. Now this one has a little bit of blue in it, so that's kind of fun. And sometimes I will just like stipple where I want the pigment to be. That's always fun too. That kind of gives it a different texture. And if you're really good, you can go back in and just, you won't even notice that I stippled. And I want to just kind of blend that together. Very floral-ish like. And then I have this other flower right here. I'm just gonna dot some in. And just like that. There's another floral. So pretty. Okay. I'm going to do the same to these ones as well. It's just probably going to be a little bit darker, so I got to be kind of careful. That's looking really nice. I didn't want a hard edge on that yellow one right there. I really love these Karin Brush markers. They can really give you a lot of color variations just from doing this cute little style. So you can see how fun this would be for nature journaling and for plein air painting. If you're an artist, you just want to paint and use color. Oh, that's so pretty. All right. I have like this beautiful bloom right here. And a couple right here. So what I'm going to do is for this one's definitely getting okay. And I'm going to need something in there, and I think it's going to be that purple. Just gonna go in and add some of that purple. I'm probably just gonna have to just add it. I think that will look really pretty. Yeah, that does look really lovely. Okay, I'm going to go with an ocean teal. I probably will change my mind. And then this pretty grass green. I might actually not do grass green. I really want my I've been like in this thing with a dark green, like almost like a dark, I think a darker green would be really pretty. And I'll probably add some purple. So I'm going to start with the cyan that was already kind of on some of those leaves. I'm just going to continue adding cyan to those leaves. Now that I kind of have an idea of what I'm looking for, I'll just go with it. I don't necessarily want that harsh edge anywhere. And that way, also, I will fill in all the gaps. But this stamp is just phenomenal. I'm going to have to... Again, if I have any cauliflowers, now's the time for me to get rid of those. So I do not want those. Oh, that's looking really beautiful. Okay. Now, I'm just gonna, it's gonna be a little bit loose and fluid. I'm okay with that. That looks like a leaf. That looks like that could have been a floral bit, but oh well. I think this is where the fun comes in. And I suppose if you really don't like this loose and fluid technique, don't do it. You know what you'll like. If it's not feeling, if you're not feeling it, don't do it. But I am loving this. I don't know if that was a leaf, but it's going to be a leaf now. I see a line. It almost looks like part of a leaf or a petal, but I made it into I made it green. There, this almost reminds me. This is so darling. Oh, I saw a flower I missed. I'm gonna have to, yeah, it doesn't really look, I don't know if that's a floral. I don't know if this is a leaf or another petal, but it's gonna be a leaf, I guess. I see something that I should probably fix right now. I don't want any green getting into that pink. And so now I feel like I'm just pushing and pulling my values. I'm okay to color on this paper because it's pretty smooth. If it was rough, I would probably not get the same results. So that's why I say I'm so picky with my paper. It's not because I'm a snob, it's because I want my art supplies to last a long time. Sometimes I think we, yeah. Okay. Oh, I think, well, that's going to be a leaf. I don't know if that was a floral or not, but it's going to be a leaf. Ooh, that's a pretty leaf. I think I'm done with the green. Yeah, so pretty. There we go. I think that's done. Now I can stamp a sentiment, or I can stamp a sentiment, cut it out, and put it on. I see one more spot right here. I'm just going to color it real quick. I'm going to add my little bit of water, and I don't, maybe I'll just do green. I think green might be, it looks like it could be either a leaf or a floral. So we're just going to break it up and make it green. I think that is the right choice. And I think we're going to call that. I didn't use as much cobalt violet as I thought I was going to, or that lilac red, but I'm okay with that. There, that is done. Looking perfect. And now I can send this as a card, thinking of you. It could go a long ways. It could be like happy wedding day or congratulations even. I mean, there's so many things you can do with just this floral card that, you know, I'll spend a weekend just watercoloring florals, and I just always have so much fun. So anyways, I hope that you guys will find some time to ink and play and use these Karin Brush Markers. They are the best. As always, if you found this video to be helpful, please give this video a big thumbs up and subscribe to my channel. I produce watercolor content every week inspiring you, and I thought this card turned out beautiful. I think that this is going to go to someone that I love very much, that inspires me to be the best that I can be. So enjoy sharing kindness to others, and we will talk to you soon. Bye.